Beware of your sister's nature because very soon she is. My beloved child, listen carefully, because what I am about to reveal is not just a story, it is a warning, a whisper from the unseen world, a message wrapped in truth and trembling shadows. You asked for this title. Beware of your sister's nature because very soon she is, and so, my child, I will take you into that world where intuition becomes louder than blood, and destiny begins to show its real face. Let this story flow into your heart slowly, because every sentence holds a reason, every scene carries a sign, and every moment is a step toward a truth you never expected. My beloved child, you have always trusted too easily. You have always believed that the people closest to you can never harm you, never envy you, never hide anything from you. Especially your sister. The one you grew up with. The one who laughed with you, fought with you, cried with you. But what you don't know is that even the closest hearts can sometimes carry storms. Even a smile can hide a plan. Even silence can hold a secret. And very soon, my child, you are going to see a side of your sister that you have never seen before. You don't need to fear. But you do need to open your eyes. My beloved child, the story begins on that ordinary morning when you woke up feeling something different. The air felt heavier, like someone had whispered your name while you were half asleep. Like someone was standing near your door, listening to your breath. You didn't know why, but you felt a strange pull in your chest, a feeling that something was moving behind the scenes of your life. Something quietly changing. And without even knowing it, you stepped into a moment that would mark the beginning of everything. Your sister was already awake. She smiled at you, but her smile wasn't the same that day. There was something in her eyes, something you couldn't read. She spoke softly, gently, almost too gently. You slept well? But her tone felt rehearsed, like she was hiding something behind her words. And, my child, you felt it. That sudden spark of doubt. But you brushed it off, because your heart is innocent. You always choose to believe. But destiny never hides forever. My beloved child, from that day on, little things began to shift. Small moments that seemed harmless, but were actually signs. You noticed her watching you when she thought you weren't looking. You caught her reading messages that weren't meant for her. You saw her mood changing, sometimes overly sweet, sometimes strangely distant. Her questions became too specific. Her interest in your plans became too deep. And yet every time you tried to convince yourself that you were imagining things, your intuition whispered back. No, something is happening. And your intuition was right. My beloved child. What you didn't know was that your sister had been struggling with a storm inside her for a long time. A storm made of jealousy, fear, comparison, and unspoken wounds. She felt the world choosing you. She felt destiny opening doors for you. She felt blessings moving in your direction. And instead of celebrating your rise, she began to fear her own shadow. She began to feel left behind. And that fear, my child, slowly turned into something darker. But she didn't show it. She hid it behind warmth. Behind kindness. Behind the bond of blood. My beloved child, this story is not about hatred. This story is about the truth that even the closest relationships can be tested when destiny begins to shift. And your destiny, my child, is rising. Faster than you realize. Higher than you expected. And your sister, she can feel it. Just like animals sense storms before humans do, she senses your breakthrough before you even know it. That is why her nature is changing. And very soon, my beloved child, she is going to reveal something that will shock you. But let me take you deeper, into that evening when the first real sign appeared. You were sitting quietly, scrolling through your phone, thinking about your life, your dreams, your next steps. And suddenly you heard her talking on the phone. Not loudly. Not clearly. But enough. Her tone wasn't her usual tone. She sounded concerned, but not in a way that comforted you. She sounded like someone discussing a matter that involved you, without your permission. You leaned closer, your heart thudding, your intuition rising again. And then you heard it. Your name. Said in a whisper. Said with a kind of urgency that didn't sit right with your soul. You stepped back, confused, hurt, unsure whether to confront her or pretend you didn't hear anything. You chose to stay silent. Because silence sometimes reveals more than confrontation. My beloved child. You didn't know that she wasn't talking to a friend. She was talking to someone who had been planting doubts in her mind. Someone who had been feeding her insecurities. Someone who had convinced her that your success was a threat to her existence. Someone who wanted both of you to fall apart. Someone who used her fears to manipulate her decisions. And she, without realizing it, was slipping into that trap. My beloved child, the next few days felt strange. You felt her energy shifting. You felt her watching you. You felt her silence turning heavier. And yet, she still smiled at you like nothing was wrong. But behind her smile, her mind was preparing for something. Something she believed she needed to do before it was too late. Because very soon, my beloved child, she is going to make a choice that will change everything. And destiny is preparing you for it. But before the moment arrives, before truth bursts into your life like a storm, I want you to understand something deeply. Not every betrayal is born from hatred. Sometimes betrayal is born from fear. Sometimes from insecurity. Sometimes from the feeling of being overshadowed. And your sister, my child, is battling a darkness inside her that she doesn't know how to handle. You will see that darkness soon. But you will also understand why it came. My beloved child, this is only the beginning of what is coming. You are entering a phase of your life where truth will rise to the surface, where hidden intentions will unfold, and where every mask will fall. Your sister's real nature, her fear, her jealousy, her confusion, her love for you, her conflict with herself, everything will come forward like a storm meeting the shore. And when it does, your life will never be the same again. My beloved child, the moment is approaching. The sign is already written. And very soon, she is going to show you a side you were never prepared for. But fate has already chosen you to rise above it. My beloved child, the days after that strange phone call were filled with a quiet tension you could not name. You walked through your own home as if you were walking through fog, unable to see clearly, but aware that something was moving around you. Your sister's voice began to sound softer, but not in a comforting way, softer like someone choosing words carefully. Softer like someone hiding thoughts behind smiles. Softer like a person preparing for a moment they don't want you to anticipate. You felt it, my child. Your soul felt it before your mind did. My beloved child, one evening, you noticed your sister sitting alone, staring at something in her hand. Her face looked tired, almost drained. You approached slowly, and as soon as she heard your footsteps, she quickly hid what she was looking at. You caught a tiny glimpse, a photograph. But not just any photograph. It was a picture of you. A picture she shouldn't have had in that place, folded, creased, held too tightly. You asked her gently, "What was that?" She forced a smile. "Nothing. Just cleaning." But you saw something flicker in her eyes. Guilt. Fear. And something else, something you still couldn't understand. And that night, my beloved child, she didn't sleep. She sat awake, the light from her room burning until dawn. You heard her pacing, whispering, arguing with her own thoughts, fighting a battle you were not aware of. If you listened closely, you could hear her say your name again and again, as if she were trying to convince herself of something. As if she were trying to choose between two roads, one that would protect you, and one that would protect her. My beloved child, there comes a moment in every family where destiny tests the bond of blood. This was that moment for her. She was torn between love and fear. She was torn between your rising destiny and her sinking self-worth. And someone from the outside was feeding her fear. My beloved child, the next morning, the energy in the house was completely different. When she walked past you, there was a heaviness around her, like she was carrying a secret too big for her heart. Her hands trembled slightly. Her breaths were shallow. She avoided your eyes, because she knew her eyes would give everything away. But destiny does not wait for courage. Destiny moves when it has to. And so, my child, the first truth revealed itself in the smallest way. Your sister accidentally left her phone on the table when she rushed outside. A message popped up. You didn't intend to look, but your eyes caught the name. A name you recognized. A person who had always been jealous of your success. A person who had always compared you and your sister, whispering negativity into her ears. A person who used insecurity as a weapon. The message said, "Do it before she gets ahead of you. You don't want to lose everything." My beloved child, that message froze your breath. Your chest tightened. Your heart began to race. You didn't want to think the worst. You didn't want to believe that your own sister could be influenced like this. You placed the phone back exactly where it was and stepped away, your hands shaking. But now, my child, now everything began to make sense. Her strange glances. Her whispering phone calls. Her sudden sweetness. Her sleepless nights. Her nervousness whenever you walked near her. Your intuition had been right all along. My beloved child, the moment she came back inside, you looked at her differently. Not with anger. Not with fear. but with a kind of silent understanding. She could feel your shift, even though you said nothing. And for the first time in many days, she panicked. She felt exposed. She felt like her secret was slipping out of her hands. She asked softly, almost trembling, "Are you okay?" You nodded. But she knew you weren't. My beloved child, that evening, something happened that destiny had been preparing you for. Something subtle, but powerful. You found her sitting alone in the dark. No lights. No music. No phone. Just silence wrapped around her like a blanket of confusion. You could hear her breathing, heavy, uneven, unsure. She didn't notice you standing at the door. She whispered to herself, "I don't want to do this, but what if everything they said is true? What if I'm left with nothing? What if I don't get another chance? What if she becomes so big that I disappear?" My beloved child, hearing her fears broke your heart in a way nothing else ever had. Because for the first time, you understood, she wasn't planning to harm you out of hatred. She was drowning in her own fear. She felt small next to your light. She felt invisible next to your destiny. She felt replaceable, forgettable, left behind. And that fear was changing her nature. My beloved child, before you could step back, the light switched on. She gasped when she saw you standing there. The room filled with a silence heavy enough to crush anyone unprepared. Her eyes widened, not with anger, not with guilt, but with the pain of being seen. She whispered, "You heard me, didn't you?" You nodded. She broke. She covered her face with her hands and began to cry. Quiet, fragile, heartbreaking tears. Tears that revealed her truth more clearly than any words ever could. My beloved child, destiny whispered to you that moment, "This is the turning point. This is where everything changes." Your sister looked up, her voice trembling. "I'm scared of what's happening to you. I'm scared you're growing too fast. I'm scared I'll be left behind. And someone told me that if I don't act now, if I don't protect myself, I'll lose everything." I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to trust. I didn't want to hurt you, but I didn't want to disappear. My beloved child, that confession shook your soul. Because now you understood the truth. She wasn't becoming dangerous. She was becoming desperate. And desperation can make even good hearts act strangely. But this was not the end of the storm. This was only the eye of it. Because very soon, my beloved child, she is going to take a step, a big step. One that will decide the future of your relationship, your destiny, and your peace. She has one choice left. And destiny is watching both of you closely. My beloved child, that night when you found her crying, destiny shifted. The air around you changed. Something inside her cracked open, exposing the softest, most wounded part of her soul. Tears were not just tears, they were confessions, regrets, memories, and fears that had been buried too long. But a storm does not end just because the clouds cry. Sometimes the heaviest rainfall comes right after the first drop. Your sister wiped her tears and tried to speak, but her voice kept breaking. She looked fragile, like someone who was trying to hold herself together with trembling hands. She whispered, "I didn't want to make things worse. I just didn't know who I was anymore when I looked at you. You were shining, and I felt like a shadow. My beloved child." You wanted to reach out, hold her, comfort her. But something inside you held you still, not out of anger, but out of shock. You were trying to understand whether her fear alone had pushed her, or whether the influence of others had driven her toward a decision you didn't yet know. Because destiny had not revealed her full intention, not yet. She stood up slowly, as if her legs could barely hold her weight. She walked toward the window, staring out at the darkness as if she expected it to answer the questions in her heart. "Do you know what it feels like," she whispered, "to feel like the world is choosing someone else while you're fading away?" Her words floated in the air like smoke, soft, but suffocating. "My beloved child," you stepped closer. Not to confront her. Not to question her. But to understand her. And with every step you took, she stepped one step away. Until she reached the farthest corner of the room, as if she feared being seen too clearly. Because now she knew that you had seen her heart in its most vulnerable state. "My beloved child," she finally turned around. Her face was calm, too calm. The kind of calm that comes right before someone makes a life-changing decision. She took a deep breath and said something that froze you completely. "I have to tell you something I've been hiding for weeks." Your heartbeat quickened. Your hands grew cold. Every intuition inside you awakened like a lightning strike. She walked toward her drawer, opened it slowly, and took out a small envelope, sealed, thick, heavy. She held it with trembling fingers as if it were made of glass. "I wasn't going to show you this," she whispered. "I was going to use it, before you found out." My beloved child, you stared at that envelope as if it held your fate. Because it did. It held your sister's intention. Her plan. The step she was preparing to take. The reason she had been acting differently. The reason someone had been whispering into her fears. The reason she had been losing her sleep, hiding her phone, breaking under pressure. She placed the envelope in your hand and stepped back, unable to look into your eyes. "Read it," she said. "You deserve to know." With trembling fingers, you opened it. Inside, you found documents. Papers with your name. Words written about you, not by you. Words that twisted your story, changed your identity, made you look like someone you weren't. Someone who had done things you had never done. Someone who could easily be misunderstood, mistrusted, judged. It wasn't just jealousy anymore. It was a step that could have destroyed your reputation. My beloved child, you felt your knees weaken. You felt your breath vanish. You felt betrayed, not lightly, but deeply. You looked at her, your eyes asking a question your lips couldn't form. Why? And she broke again. She fell to her knees, crying harder than before. "I didn't mean to send them. I swear. I kept telling myself I wouldn't. I kept telling myself that you were my sister, my family, my blood. But then, they told me that if you rise higher, I'll disappear. If you become successful, I'll be forgotten. If people choose you, no one will choose me. Her voice cracked. Her guilt spilled out. Her fear screamed through every word. My beloved child, you stood frozen. You didn't know whether to comfort her or step away. You didn't know whether to forgive or grieve. You didn't know whether to feel anger or sorrow. You were caught between love and betrayal, just like she had been caught between insecurity and fear. For a long moment, you were both silent. Then she looked up, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry. I didn't want to hurt you. I just didn't know how to handle watching you grow while I stayed the same. I didn't know how to deal with my own emptiness." My beloved child, destiny spoke to you quietly in that moment. Not all wounds bleed. Some wounds hide in the shape of jealousy. Some wounds disguise themselves as anger. Some wounds look like betrayal, but underneath them is a soul crying for help. And you understood. You understood that your sister wasn't your enemy. She was your reflection in a darker mirror. She was the child who didn't know how to love herself enough. She was the woman who had forgotten her own worth. She was the heart that thought it was losing everything while watching you gain something. But the story wasn't over. Your sister stood up slowly. Her tears dried. Her shoulders straightened. Something shifted inside her, not fear, not jealousy, but realization. My beloved child, destiny whispered again, this is where she chooses who she truly becomes. And she did. She stepped closer to you, her voice steadier than before. I'm giving you everything, she said. These papers, these secrets, these thoughts, take them. I won't let anyone use me again. I won't let fear turn me into someone I'm not. I don't want to lose you. Her final words pierced your heart. I don't want to be your threat. I want to be your sister again. My beloved child, that was the moment everything changed. The jealousy left her eyes. The fear left her voice. The darkness left her energy. And for the first time in weeks, she looked like herself again. Because she had made a choice. Not to betray you. Not to compete with you. Not to let anyone manipulate her again. Not to lose you in the process. She chose blood over fear. She chose truth over pressure. She chose love over insecurity. She chose you. My beloved child, you knelt beside her. You held her hands. You looked into her eyes, not with anger, not with judgment, but with the kind of understanding only destiny can teach. And you whispered, we rise together, or not at all. She cried again. But this time, the tears were not of guilt. They were tears of release. Tears of healing. Tears of realization that she had almost destroyed something precious, something irreplaceable, but she stopped herself before crossing the point of no return. And destiny smiled upon both of you. My beloved child, this is the truth. Beware of your sister's nature because very soon she is, not your enemy, not your downfall.